Remember Borders, the bookstore that most Americans knew and loved? Borders used to be everywhere. It was a giant retail chain that generated almost $3 billion in sales at one point, but sadly completely shut down in 2011. Hard to imagine how a company that was doing so well would, in a matter of just a few years, reach a point where it would have to close down, right? That's why in today's video, we'll take a look into the origins of Borders, its highs, and the factors that contributed to its eventual downfall. Back in 1791, two visionary brothers, Tom and Louis Borders, kicked off a little adventure in the town of Ann Arbor in Michigan. They opened a bookstore, but it wasn't just any old bookstore, it was going to be a game changer. They called this bookstore Borders. Well, actually, the original name of the store wasn't actually Borders. When the bookstore was first opened, the Borders called it Borders Bookshop. It wasn't until a few years later that they dropped the bookshop part and just went with Borders. Anyway, unlike traditional bookstores of the time, instead of just textbooks and classics, they wanted all sorts of books to live under one roof. It was like a buffet of reading material. Students from the nearby University of Michigan loved it, and word spread like wildfire. Another important contributor to Borders' growth occurred in 1973, when the Borders brothers established an inventory system that would later become one of the foundations of the company's success. They introduced a computerized inventory management system, which allowed them to track book sales and stock levels more efficiently. This innovation not only enabled them to provide better customer service, but also set the stage for the company's ambitious expansion plans. Apart from a great selection of books and customer service, another reason for Borders' success was the environment it created inside the bookstores. It was one of the first big bookstores that offered a coffee bar in almost all their stores by the mid-1990s. They also had cozy reading nooks strategically placed throughout the store. Borders always marketed itself as more than just a place to buy things. It was a place to connect. Borders hosted book clubs, author signings, and even live music events. It was a space where people gathered to discuss their latest book obsessions, to recommend hidden gems, and to bond over their shared interest in reading. Borders did these things right, and it was actually working out really well for them, until 2007, when the company incurred a loss and it never came out of it. It actually lost close to $1 billion over 5 years, from 2007 to 2011. There were several factors that led to this failure of Borders. Let's try to uncover what we think were the main reasons behind it. The first reason was the rise of the digital age, which brought about a huge shift in the publishing industry. Ebooks and digital media began to take center stage, allowing readers to access content instantly and conveniently. Unfortunately, Borders found itself lagging behind in this digital race. The company struggled to adapt to the changing consumer preferences that were leaning towards digital content and e-readers. The biggest being the Amazon Kindle. As more and more people embraced the ease of being able to carry practically a virtual library in their pockets, Borders found it difficult to stay relevant in this new landscape. Borders' ambitious expansion strategy, which had served it well for a time, also turned into a double-edged sword for the company. The company's rapid growth led to overexpansion, with stores sprouting up everywhere. But this aggressive expansion came at a cost, a stress on the company's financial resources. The economic slump that struck in the late 2000s didn't help either. It worsened the financial situation Borders was already grappling with. To keep its business afloat amidst declining sales and losses, it also ended taking up huge amounts of debt. The next reason for Borders' decline was its failure to utilize the internet. In the early 1990s, Borders did have the foresight to launch Borders.com, an online platform where customers could explore and purchase books from the comfort of their homes. This move was indeed a step in the right direction, but sadly the website was far from being user-friendly and entertaining. It was also quite slow compared to the websites of its competitors. While other companies were developing sophisticated e-commerce platforms and building strong online communities, Borders' online presence seemed to be lacking the spark. The website, though barely functional, failed to capture the essence of what made visiting a Borders store a unique experience. It lacked the warmth, the ambience, and the sense of community that had become synonymous with a visit to their physical stores. Due to mounting debt and delayed payments, Borders' relationships with its suppliers and publishers also began to deteriorate, which obviously had an effect on the selection of books it offered. Disputes with these big partners hampered the availability of popular titles on the shelves. As customers found themselves unable to find books and products that they were looking for, Borders' reputation took a hit. The inability to provide a consistent and appealing selection of products, which was once its strongest quality, contributed greatly to the company's struggles. Basically, in a rapidly evolving landscape, consumer preferences evolved, and Borders was unable to foresee and cater to these shifts. While Borders was once ahead of its time when it came to innovation, it was now unable to keep up with this innovative spirit, and that was what led to its eventual downfall. In 2011, Borders filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and it was over $1 billion in debt at the time. Initially, the company planned on coming back from it by finding a buyer to take over, but eventually all plans failed, and it announced the closure of all its stores. The closure marked not just the end of a retail giant, but the end of an era where physical bookstores were also seen as cultural hubs. It symbolized the challenges that traditional brick-and-mortar stores faced in the digital age, a reminder that even the most beloved and well-established names could not escape the shifts brought about by technology if they did not adapt fast enough. The news of Borders' downfall was met with a mix of emotions. It was obviously nostalgic for those who had grown up visiting these stores. There was also a sense of sadness, as the iconic brand that had played a part in so many people's lives was now facing its final chapter. The story of Borders is definitely one of ambition, innovation, and challenges that ultimately led to its downfall. From its modest beginnings as a small bookstore started by two brothers to its status as a retail giant, Borders will be remembered for its groundbreaking ideas and contributions to the retail industry. However, this story also remains a cautionary tale for businesses, as it shows the importance of staying up to date with technological advancements and changing strategies to meet the ever-evolving needs of consumers. What are your thoughts on the company? Were you also a Borders customer? If yes, how did you take the news of Borders closing down? Also, did you start noticing changes in its stores and customer service towards the end of its stint? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below and tell us. That's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content like this. We'll see you in the next video.